Hello and welcome everyone to another manga analysis video. The topic of this video will be Hajime no Ippo, the famous boxing manga made by George Morikawa. Hajime no Ippo is one of my favorite mangas and throughout my life has been an enormous inspiration. It is one of the reasons I started boxing, and even after all these years, this moment still gives me chills. However, it is my opinion that Hajime no Ippo has a lot to offer, not just on the physical, but also on the philosophical plane, and in fact perfectly encapsulates some of Friedrich Nietzsche's core ideas. In this video, I'll explore the philosophy of Hajime no Ippo and will try to answer the manga's most pressing question: what is it to be strong? Now I'm going to jump right in. So if you want an introduction to Nietzsche, then these two videos might be interesting. Links will appear on screen now. Also, this video will contain spoilers if you're not caught up with the manga, so be warned. But without further ado, let's get started. The story of Hajime no Ippo is about a young boy named Ippo. Ippo is a good-natured young man who helps out his mother in a fishing business. There are just the two of them, because Ippo's father died when he was really young, dying in a boating accident while rescuing another man. Ippo has a relatively uneventful life, except for being picked on by some school bullies. During a confrontation with the bullies, he meets Takamura, the Japanese boxing champ. Ippo is entranced by the casual strength that the champ shows. He goes to the gym where Takamura trains and joins under the training of coach Kamagawa. Throughout the series, we see Ippo grow as a boxer, and through hard work and discipline he becomes a champion. Currently in the series, however, Ippo has stopped boxing after suffering his third loss. Ippo, throughout his fights, has always taken a lot of damage and is afraid that he is punch drunk, a common affliction with boxers who have taken a lot of punches to the head. He doesn't want to worry his mother and I suppose girlfriend Kumi anymore and decides to give up boxing, even though it is apparent to everyone that he still feels the need to stand in the ring. In order to analyze the philosophy of Hajime no Ippo, we need to start with the same question that Ippo asks himself: what is it to be strong? Now, if we define strength as the quality or state of being physically strong, or as the capacity of an object or substance to withstand great force or pressure, then Ippo can already be said to be strong. He is physically incredibly powerful and has endurance in spades. But beyond physical strength, Ippo can be said to have moral strength. He has forgiven and befriended Umezawa, one of his old bullies. By helping out on the boat, he is diligent in his duties to his mother, and by quitting boxing to be there for his mother and for Kumi, he has chosen for his life and for his health. All very admirable. So in all ways and means, Ippo is a good person with a strong moral code. But Ippo in the beginning chose a very different arena to prove his strength in, the boxing arena. And what makes you strong in real life is different from what makes you strong in boxing. Boxing to me has always perfectly encapsulated one of Nietzsche's core concepts: the will to power. The will to power is our life's drive, the drive to create, to procreate, to conquer, to dominate. It is present in every living thing. As Nietzsche said, everything that is not a dead body has a will to power. It will grow, spread, become predominant, not out of morality or immorality, but because it is living. It is the driving force behind civilization. It can have many different forms. The scientist uses the will to power to find the truth, the artist to create, and the businessman to acquire wealth. But it also has an incredibly dark side in the form of the Dionysian. Dionysus is the Greek god of intoxication, passion, and ecstasy, and Nietzsche used him to describe our darkest impulses. Dionysus is channeled when men go to war and lose themselves in battle, or when they are in the crowd acting as one, satisfying their dark urges under the guise of righteousness. And yes, also in the ring when the boxer completely demolishes an already broken opponent. This side of boxing is present in all boxers at world level. Even smooth and graceful technicians such as Muhammad Ali or Sugar Ray Leonard had a brutal side, throwing flurries of punches until their opponent was unconscious, with Sugar Ray going on the record to say that he loved to hit other men, that he loved to see them crumble. The Dionysian side of the will to power can drive men to lose their humanity, but also to become the world's greatest. For this, however, the Apollinian is necessary. The Apollinian is our ratio and our ego, the discipline and calmness of mind to master the techniques of boxing, painting, or sculpting. It is a reaction to the Dionysian and allows us to be effective. And this is something reflected in the manga. Ricardo Martinez, the pound-for-pound greatest in Ippo's division, is a masterful technician, described as the perfect boxer. But when techniques are not enough, he brings out as savages capable of coating the ring in blood. The ring asks for a level of sadism, and with many boxers in Hajime No Ippo, this sadism stems from their childhood. Both Sendo and Alfredo Gonzalez were street fighters in their youths, and their instinctual savagery has carried them to the world. Takamura, despite his good upbringing, was also a street punk, not able to control his violent impulses. All these men, through boxing, found a place where their violent tendencies were rewarded. In psychological terms, this is called sublimation, a type of defense mechanism in which socially unacceptable impulses are transformed into socially acceptable actions or behavior, possibly resulting in a long-term conversion of the initial impulse. Sublimation in this manner can create a balance between the Dionysian and the Apollinian. For some, though, this is harder than for others. Mashiba, an old rival of Ippo, struggled greatly with containing his Dionysian side. His propensity for rough fighting cost him victories in the past and got him suspended from boxing for half a year. Through the help of his fans and his loved ones, Mashiba managed to control his violent impulses and is now truly a boxer. For Ippo, the problem is the reverse. He, at this time, lacks the savagery of the other champions. After Ippo's second loss, Takamura tells him that he doesn't have to fire anymore to box competitively. During a run with Ippo, he draws a line in the grass with his foot and tells him that to cross this line is to become a monster and to give up your humanity. Beyond this line lies the world stage, where only monsters can survive. Ippo steps into the ring without mentally crossing the line and loses spectacularly. In the real world, this struggle is not strange at all. Throughout history, many boxers struggled with reconciling the savagery that the world stage calls for and their normal day-to-day lives. The excellent video by the modern martial artist about the dark alter egos of fighters shows that boxers as diverse as Sugar Ray Leonard and Deontay Wilder have adopted different personas in the ring. Sugar Ray had the street fighter when he wanted to brawl, or would channel his idol Muhammad Ali when he fought Thomas Hearns, believing that the world's greatest had nothing to be afraid of. Deontay Wilder talks about his ring persona, the Bronze Bomber, as in the third person. It is not he, Deontay Wilder, who wants a body on his hands in the ring, it is the Bronze Bomber. In psychological terms, this is called dissociation, a state of disconnectedness from reality that can be a sign of mental illness, but is also a part of creativity and religious experiences. These fighters consciously call upon disassociation to channel the aggressiveness necessary to fight in the ring. So is this what Ippo needs? Does he need a ring persona that will allow him to channel his darker, aggressive side safely? Perhaps Ippo does have a darker side. We've seen glimpses of it. during a fight with a boxer who insulted Ippo, his coach, and all of his previous opponents, and later when a young street punk who he was coaching insulted Kamagawa. But Ippo's problem goes deeper. Ippo never truly had the motivation to be a champion. In the beginning, he chased after Miyata, and there's nothing wrong with this. Rivals can sharpen each other's will to power. Steel sharpens steel, after all. But as Ippo admits to a gym mate, he never thought he could beat Miyata. He would be satisfied with fighting him with all he had and would then retire without regrets. When this fight never happened, he would fight for Coach Kamagawa, trying to prove that his boxing could work on the world stage, but never truly wanting to win for himself. The direct opposite of Ippo in attitude is Takamura. Takamura is attempting the impossible in conquering all 6 weight classes. He aims to stand at the highest peak and to do something that no one has ever done. Takamura's philosophy is explained in chapter 1173. During a run, Ippo tells Takamura that the journey he is taking is such a unique one, that he really has no one he can share it with, and that if he keeps up his breakneck pace to the top, people will stop supporting him. He then asks if Takamura isn't lonely. Takamura answers with this: "Everybody starts out as a nobody. That means you and me both started out at the same spot. Something got us to move forward, and then we're off. A flat road with nothing on it. Then a sudden and steep incline. Eventually it becomes a mountain climb over obstacles, pushing everyone out of the way until you can see the top. There's only enough footing for one person up there. When the last obstacle is gone, there you are. You get a view that only others who have made it that far can see, and everyone is trying to make their way up to see it. Don't call the place we all aim for some shit like lonely. Call it extraordinary." The talk between Ippo and Takamura reminds me of what Nietzsche called the master and slave morality. Just as in Hajime No Ippo, in real life there are those who excel, who can reach incredible heights and get a vantage point few ever get to see. They possess the master morality, a morality that values strength, glory, and excellence above all else. A morality that says yes to life and to all of its challenges and victories. These are the higher men, creative geniuses who through a rare combination of nature and nurture are able to devote their life to a craft and bestow upon the world astounding works of beauty. They are the Da Vinci's, the Einsteins, and the Muhammad Ali's. On the other side, we have those with the slave morality, which consists of 2 types of people: the last man and the slave. The last man is the mediocre man. Striving only for comfort and contentment, the last man is wholly devoid of any creative urge within, and is blind to the higher values which render creativity possible. The slave is someone who is aware of these higher values, but resents the strength and drive that the higher men show in reaching for them. They are incapable of reaching those same heights and so have convinced themselves that it is useless to try. They are afraid of life and deny themselves the power and splendor that the master morality can bring. There is something even above the higher man, however, and that is the overman. The man who truly lives according to his own rules and has discarded the moral values and conventions of society. The man who has given his all to unifying life's project and is above the resentments and praises of the masses below. The higher man, according to Nietzsche, is not quite the overman, but this is something that I will come back to later in this video. For now we can say that in this scene, Takamura embodies the higher man, while Ippo has got traits of the slave. I think Ippo at that moment, despite training for his comeback, already knew that he didn't have the motivation to win, and on the inside resented Takamura for having the drive and purpose that he didn't. The difference between the 2 men in attitude has everything to do with sacrifice. Sacrifice is necessary for anyone striving to become one of the higher men. You sacrifice your time, energy, your health, your youth, and even your sanity to achieve your goals. But where Takamura's sacrifices are life-affirming, they are made in service of his goals, Ippo's are made in denial of life. This attitude stems from his father's death. He after all made the ultimate sacrifice, giving his life for someone else, giving Ippo the idea that to be strong is to sacrifice. This shows in Ippo's relationship with Kamigawa, his surrogate father. Under Kamigawa, Ippo sacrifices his body and his health for a goal not truly his own. He sacrifices his ability to grow as a boxer to please Kamigawa and to prove that his boxing could work at the world level. He now has even sacrificed boxing, something that he used to love, for peace of mind. His motive to be there for his mother is an excuse to not give it all to be a champion. He is afraid of life, of giving it his all in a mad dash to the top. But although Ippo has got traits of the slave, he is not truly one. In the beginning of the story and even now, he's at the stage of development that Nietzsche called the camel. This sounds weird, but a camel is a beast of burden and is happy to carry that burden. Different from the last man who just wants to be comfortable, and from the slave who's only resentful, the camel has a strong spirit and rejoices in his strength. As Nietzsche said, there are many things for the spirit, for the strong, heavy spirit, in which dwell respect and awe. Its strength longs for the heaviest. Thus it kneels down like the camel, and wants to be well laden. This is Ippo in the beginning of the manga. He literally carried heavy burdens for his mother in the form of the ice boxes for the fishing trips, but also while training under Kamigawa, happily accepting the grueling training regimes of his coach and rejoicing in his progress and power. And now, when acting as a second, he is taking the hopes and dreams of his pupils on his shoulders. The next phase in the individual's development is the lion. The lion is a lot like the higher man, striving to a singular goal, and having done away with the values and restrictions of society that might hold them back, they confidently channel the Dionysian and destroy. They destroy those who would stand in their way, because as Takamura says, there's only enough room for one at the top. But at times they also destroy things inside of them, certain mindset, values and misconceptions that are holding them back. We see this process most clearly with Mashiba. In order to win, he had to destroy his loner attitude and at least part of his ruthlessness. Nietzsche called this the dragon. The dragon called thou shalt. With Nietzsche this meant the morals of Christianity that were prevalent in his time, seeing Christianity as restrictive to true freedom and self-mastery. But with Ippo it means something else. With Ippo the dragon is his attachment to the coach. The thou shalt that he is facing is, thou shalt grit your teeth and take the blows so you can give back one of your own. Thou shalt push forward no matter what happens. Thou shalt trust the coach absolutely without question. I'm not saying with this that the coach is a bad guy, he simply worked with what he had with Ippo. Ippo himself is responsible for his own shortcomings and failures. But if Ippo is to grow as a man and as a boxer, he has to destroy his attachment to the coach and learn to create his own values. But the lion is not the end stage for Ippo. Where the lion and the higher man can be ruthless and dominating, this is not Ippo's way. He does not have to give up his humanity to succeed. Earlier I said that the higher man is not quite the overman, and although Nietzsche was never that clear about what the overman exactly was, in my opinion, the overman, differently from the higher man, inspires instead of just dominates. He, through following his own path and by living by his own rules, inspires others to do the same, to create their own values, to strive for the highest peaks that they can. And this is something remarked upon by Sendo in chapter 502. Ippo's fists bring out the best in people. They make you eager to train. They make you think that if I just trained a bit more, I could have made it. This is something that guys like Takamura, Sendo or Mashiba could never do. Their fists are like blades cutting through people's dreams and ambitions. They have made people quit boxing. Ippos are a blade of life. Ippo is growing even now. He is growing as a boxer. He is polishing his mind and is thinking for himself. By being a second, he is building himself up as a boxer. Once he shakes himself loose from clinging to the coach as rigidly as he does, he will have entered Nietzsche's final stage, that of the child. The child who looks at the world with new eyes, eager to learn, not hindered by old ways of thinking and feeling, ready to take on the world and its challenges. This does not mean that Ippo will completely forget his old style, but he won't be so rigid anymore. As Nietzsche said, the child is innocence and forgetfulness, a new beginning, a game, a self-propelling wheel, a first motion, a sacred yes. Ippo's sacred yes is his return to the ring. What is it to be strong? To create your own path, to stand up straight and look life in the eyes, to fight the fights you think are meaningful, not to dominate, not just to win, but to live life to its fullest and to inspire others on your way. I don't know when Ippo will return to the ring, but when he does, he will have grown as a boxer and will be fighting for himself. This was my analysis of Hajime No Ippo. I hope you liked it. Like if you liked it. Share if you want, because that does help my channel out. And see you next time.